everybody, to another edition of the Rockball Report podcast. I'm your host, Bill, season ticket holder Drew Gear. That's my producer, Chris Kruger. In the house with us for tonight's recordings, Mr. Anthony Prohaska from Cover One. And Chris, I believe you owe everyone a giant apology.
Yeah, I do. I did not press record on video for our other show, so sorry. This is the only one. And then, are we doing an After Dark?
Yeah.
Then we'll do an After Dark. And by After Dark, we mean Prohaska Reviews Forbidden Door.
Oh, yes! Yes!
I'll just work as many orgy references into that as I can.
That's fine.
I mean, it's...
To each their own, man. No judgment. You do you. Arson, orgies.
Listen, we've had a night. Guys, if you haven't heard it already, our training camp episode of talking about...
Audio only.
Our preview of the cornerback and linebacker positions got a little out of hand at some points. I think there was arson discussed. There's a Chris Benoit reference. There was...
All these, these are all you. I think there was an arson reference or a Chris Benoit. These are all things you said.
I don't know who these people... I don't know who said these things.
Things get said.
Guys, before we go any farther, I think I want to open with something because it's near and dear to my heart. Mark said that he's going to go leave a negative review if I was blubbering about this. So I felt it only necessary to open like this. First of all, everyone raise a glass. Chris, did you... Okay, you did make yourself a cocktail.
I have an old-fashioned.
Anthony, can we toast?
Okay, that looks delicious.
To Ryan Mallett. Okay, Ryan Mallett was my first ever draft crush. He was the guy that I went to the mat for, and I said that he was going to revolutionize the way offense got played in football because I saw the strength of his arm, pure arm talent, and his ability to fake the play action.
Yeah.
If you had a competent running game in the NFL, that should get you places. Like now I look at what Josh Allen is and I go, I'll tell you how far I took it. I used to play in a Madden league with people where you take a team and you just play your own season, but then when you played the other people's teams on because it was online but also not online, when it came time to play that other person's team, you would play them. You'd schedule a time and you would play each other. Every year, what I would do with the Bills is I would trade for Ryan Mallett because he had a 97 throw power and his mobility was dog shit, but he was better than whatever fucking quarterback we had at the time. Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think. That's how far back we're going.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, I could throw the ball all over the field and I was dominating people in that game. I loved Ryan Mallett, and I liked the way he played. And a lot of his touchdowns were scheme-driven, and it turns out he wasn't great when he made it to the NFL, right? But then you think about the way he died, and just this idea that, when you hear about a person passing away in a drowning accident, you want to believe that it's extraordinary. You want to think that that's a freak thing that, oh my God, what a crazy thing that hasn't happened to anybody else. What makes it sad is that he's one of 59 other, him and 59 other people have drowned in the exact same spot in the last calendar year. Because Mother Nature's had enough of our shit, and riptides in this area are prevalent, and people keep swimming there. And so in the wake of this one, the sheriff's frustrated, everybody's frustrated, and they go, this doesn't need to happen. Just stay out of the water in this one area. Stop going down there. Because then we have to come try to save you, and it puts everybody in danger. And it's just crazy to think how you go from that, right? He was 35 years old.
Yeah.
Now, we talked, Chris, we got hammered and talked about risk aversion during our last After Dark.
Yep.
The submarine thumbnail. Yeah,
it's been 84 years.
We just talked about a risk aversion as you get older and as you learn things. What is your appetite for risk? When someone goes, "Hey, don't do this or you'll die."
Yeah, cool. I'm out.
Exactly, right? At a base level, you say to yourself, "I'm done here."
Yeah.
So it's sad that but he's not alone. People keep signing up to swim in this exact area, and then they drown, and everyone goes, oh, this is terrible. Is it? You jumped into the thing that they told you to stop. The police are at the beach trying to keep people out, but they can't arrest you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to Ryan Mallett? You going to tackle him to the sand? Probably not. He's 6'5".
97 throw power.
He's Josh Allen-esque.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see that and it makes me sad, Chris, because we talk about that all the time. It's just my love for him pre-draft is a trope.
You told that
show.
Ryan Mallett story the very first time I ever recorded with you guys in person. We finished the show, and then we went back out, and we're in the kitchen. I think having more like pizza or just sitting and talking, and you told your Josh Allen draft story and your Ryan Mallett draft story.
And that's it. And so now it's funny that you're here in studio with us, and we're now talking about this
right?
Ryan Mallett story.
Yeah.
It's sad, and I just wish, what I'll say is I wish for people that they find, hopefully for his family, they find peace.
Yeah.
And hopefully for people out there, you guys find what your appetite for risk is. Find, it's like the New York State gambling thing. Know your limit, play within it. I hope that
NFL players know about that.
Oh, I get it.
Oh, fuck. Right back into sarcasm and snark. There can't just be a moment on this podcast.
I was waiting for it to go back.
Yeah, he's like, oh, this is usually fun. This is kind of dark.
Sad.
So, guys, just a toast to Ryan Mallett.
Cheers.
Guys,
To Ryan Mallett.
glasses up. He's up there warming up for Chris Gregg, just waiting to throw him another touchdown pass. Chris, remember when we used to do Chris Gregg Awareness Week? Mm-hmm. Wow. Every week, I would just quote. It was him and 11 football teams who I knew had dog shit tight end groups, and I would just send them highlights and then copy Chris Gregg in it. And the one time he's like, "You guys are fucking wild. What are you doing?" I go, "I'm trying to get you a job, son.
Trying to get you signed."
I love me some Chris Gregg.
Bills legend.
God,
Tremendous. We were just looking at it before we went. We went and started recording this again. The Bills have a tremendous tight end history when it comes to just allocating.
Yeah, allocating
draft
resources.
capital. Yeah, tremendous. All the way back to back-to-back first-round tight end picks in 1973 and 1974. It started then, and it's just been rolling ever since.
How funny is that? In an era where you can't pass the football for shit, the Bills drafted tight ends first overall 2 years in a row.
It'd be like a team right now going back-to-back years with RBs in the first round. Everybody would be like, what? Why?
So, Chris, this cocktail, it's pink in color. For those of you not watching on YouTube, it's in a rocks glass. I like this, but it's very light. There's really not a lot of flavor to it. It's very light citrus flavor, floral notes. What do you got for me here? This is drinkable. On a hot day, this would be amazing. I'd probably drink a gallon of this.
I don't know if you went outside. It was hot today. So that is called a Jungle Bird.
A Jungle Bird.
It has an ounce and a half of dark rum.
I don't want it to corrupt the old-fashioned.
Oh, yeah. Anthony's got a old-fashioned.
I do.
It is a Jungle Bird, which is black rum, pineapple juice, lime juice, Campari,
And a Capri Sun.
and pineapple gum syrup.
Wow.
Yeah.
The fuck is it?
And you have all these things in your house?
He's making this up.
Oh,
at
so
this
that's
point.
not-
No, I bought it's store-bought pineapple gum syrup from Liber and Company.
Oh, I got tons of pineapple gum syrup.
Yeah,
in my house.
that gum syrup that I keep around in my house. This
Yeah.
is the stuff, Anthony, when I hear this, it makes me want to flip this fucking table. I bought a gum syrup. Yeah, you know what I bought? I bought fucking diapers this week. I bought Desitin.
For you?
Almost there's the same Oh,
Ooh. All right, well played.
damn.
This guy's out here literally has the free time to just peruse liquor stores when he's bored and look for gum syrup.
You could get gum syrup.
No, I can't.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
Just keep it away from the kids.
Well, is it a good cocktail?
It is a great cocktail. I'm
So
not gonna
get
lie.
yourself
This
some
is
gum
light.
syrup.
It's
I was.
delicious.
I've never
I
had
wanted to
it.
hate it based on the color.
You
but
heard him? He
this
said,
is-
I've never had it.
Yeah, I've never. Well, the last time we did this, where
the
we
guinea
did
pig.
we did a cocktail that Drew didn't like, the whiskey millionaire cocktail. It was awful.
Oh.
It was awful. It was like
terrible.
It's got a great name.
It was whiskey, Grand Marnier, I think lime or lemon and an egg white.
Yeah, and an egg
It's
white.
like-
And the egg white fucked it because it made it pasty.
Oh, I've had an egg white and a whiskey sour before, and I didn't know it was a thing, and it was fantastic.
Well, okay.
Oh
but
yeah,
when you
that's
put
like
it-
a Boston sour.
But if you
Oh,
put it in a
nice.
cloudy drink, it gets fucking weird. Speaking of getting weird, Chris, let's hit these guys with this week's Bills News Update.
Oh come on!
Oh, Chris sucks again! Producer fail week. Come on, give me something. Give me. Ladies and gentlemen, so for those of you who had tickets to camp, like troubles with that,
And I fucked up.
yeah, you think I fucked up. Hey, listen, you can
Ticket
feed
camp.
me liquor. I'll say whatever I want. There was a new format this year that got rolled out
Oh, boy.
for season ticket holder early access. Now, you guys at the Cover One group felt the pinch.
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
It was a little bit difficult to get your hands on training camp tickets this year, wasn't it?
A little bit.
Because in the past, season ticket holders would get early access, and they would be able to go in and pick up to 4 tickets per practice for whatever they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, the backlash was so ferocious to this and the lack of tickets that, like, I'd like to think that a lot of bitching by NFL fans goes unnoticed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were talking before we started recording about how Tyreek Hill is probably going to get away with slapping a man in public.
Yeah.
Because realistically, he has talent, and the league will look the other way on it because they don't care what people on social media think.
No.
I mean, Chris, he slapped a dude at a marina over fishing.
All right.
Who hasn't done that?
It's like I was joking about. To quote Charlie Murphy, you don't slap a man. Even back when slapping was fashionable, there was a gunfight afterwards. Somebody had to go. You don't slap a dude and then someone doesn't end up in the paddy wagon. Like that's not how that works. Anyway,
I digress.
So they changed the format this year due to the just glut of complaints last year. Season ticket holders were only able to access up to 2 practices, but a maximum of 6 seats. 6 tickets per person, maximum of 2 practices. Now, mind you, that's reasonable when you consider the demand, correct?
Yeah, fair.
Chris?
Yeah.
For the first time in decades, people are literally willing to climb over each other to get Bills training camp tickets.
Yeah. Well,
To watch practice. As Allen Iverson would say it, practice? We're talking
about practice. But then you also have to factor in people that live in maybe Syracuse that aren't going to come to a game because of how much ticket prices are for a game. But then you can go to a practice, and it's only, Syracuse is an hour from Rochester?
Yeah, an hour on there.
Now,
To win.
here's what I love about this. The team put this out that they were changing the policy to make things more equitable for people on the average fan who's not a season ticket holder, because obviously season ticket holders by and large don't travel from far distances to make it, and this is a regional play. That's what the training camp process being in Rochester. It was the only thing I can point to that Russ Brandon did that worked. Was this idea that he regionalized the team well by putting training camp in Rochester and giving people the up close and personal with the team in order to get the kids in, get fans who maybe their interest was waning. Now you've got them because they're right there in your backyard and you can go see them for free. So with that in mind, it's hilarious the lengths that the team went to protect this. Now our friend Ryan Lasel reached out to me and he goes, well, here's the thing. I have multiple season ticket accounts. Like, I have pockets of seats that are all kind of one way or another ended up under my name, and I'm just going to go acquire seats based on because it's by account. It's not by
person name or whatever.
But he has one rep. And so here's what happens. He comes to me and goes, I've got all these tickets. Let's reach out to some guys. So I did. I put out feelers. I go, hey, what do you think about that date? What about this? Would this work for you? I've got a guy who's got an in. And then he messages us in our group chat and says, I got a call from my ticket rep. I guarantee you it's about these tickets. Sure enough, they basically told him, listen, you can either voluntarily give them up, or we can just have Ticketmaster nullify all of them, and you get none.
Cold-blooded.
Because you are one person, and as one person you are able to get 2, maximum of 6.
Wow.
That's cutthroat, right?
Drop the hammer. I respect it.
Chris, do you respect the level of cutthroat that the Bills
That is
have gone through
cutthroat.
this?
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird. First of all, for me, it's weird for a team to say, like, hey, we'll let you sign up for a thing, but also fuck you if you take it. There's consequences. And what I think about that also is that like, Chris, if they had called me with that energy, we wouldn't have season tickets anymore.
Yeah.
I would have argued our way right out of it.
You're a common rational guy, though. You wouldn't have gotten
yeah,
it.
you
would
know.
have just accepted it.
I'm pragmatic.
Yeah.
He's a negotiator.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have declared a pox on his house.
Yeah. Arson.
Now,
I'll burn your house down.
I guess the question is, did it work? Did it help? Anthony, have you seen any less complaining about the inavailability of practice tickets this year from last year?
No, because everybody's going to complain about everything. No matter what you do, complaints run rampant in everything.
And then here's the one that bugs me the most, is that somehow Like, this is what they were trying to keep, was like, hey, these people who have early access are scooping up all the tickets and then reselling them on the secondary market.
Yeah.
Okay. Tickets still showed up immediately on Ticketmaster's resale platform, as well as StubHub, for anywhere from over $100 to $200 a seat.
Yeah, I saw like 100.
With all due respect.
No, I saw 185.
Remember, I'm saying with all due respect, that idea ain't worth a velvet painting of a whale and a dolphin getting it on.
I said with all due respect.
On a scale of people who don't return for, like, here's the scale. I'm going to draw it out for you. I have people who don't return their shopping carts to the corral. Okay?
Those are the worst fucking people in the world.
And on this end, I have people at Walmart who eat things and then put them back on the shelf.
What? That's a thing?
Yeah.
Wait, do you mean like...
Like, I opened a bag of chips and I started eating it and then I put it back on the shelf.
Was this at Cheektowaga Walmart?
Yeah, absolutely. So...
Wait, was this before it moved to... Was it at the old location by Home Depot?
No, this is the current one.
The current one where it is now. All right.
You're super into this whole Cheektowaga Walmart.
Well,
it's
when you have it on one side of the 90, it's completely different than...
I watched some guy be like, there's cops milling around outside Walmart.
Okay.
Trying to look inconspicuous, but they're doing a really terrible job of it. And I go, okay, well, this is cool. I'm going to stand out here and watch whatever the fuck is happening. Also, I'm not going in there. Because whatever's happening, like, is there a hostage situation? Yeah. And this guy comes walking out with this big triple fat goose coat on, and this cop tackles this guy like he thinks he's Matt Milano.
Yes.
And packages of meat just come spilling out of this man's jacket. He had been stealing hundreds of dollars of meat, apparently. And the cops are like, he's in the store? All right, fuck it. We cover the entrances, and when this guy comes out, you just
We're blasting him. Wow. I need to go to the Cheektowaga Walmart.
So, with this in mind, on the scale of people not returning their carts, people eating things and then putting it back on the shelves, how big of a scumbag are you in claiming free seats to a practice that's geared towards engaging a community that doesn't get to go to actual games, and also children? Hey, we're going to indoctrinate children into the football atmosphere in a low-impact environment with no hammered people.
Well, they indoctrinate children in other ways these days.
Wow, got serious again.
See, it's this guy. Go listen to Ben Shapiro. So, like, this is a way, it's supposed to be a tool to organically grow your fan base.
Yeah.
And you have these pieces of shit who are out here selling these tickets. Like, where does it fall on that scale? Are you worse? Are you off the chart?
I have a quick question. Shouldn't the scale one end shouldn't one end be really bad and one end be really good? Aren't both ends awful?
Well, there is no silver lining for these assholes.
Silver lining playbook.
Damn it. Yeah. I was going to say, what if there's a playbook? Get it? Because the best movie ever. Love it. High five. Yeah, you high five me. You agree. But shouldn't you? Scale aside, I'm not a big fan of reselling in general. I'm a big sneaker guy and wrestling aficionado. The reseller market for sneakers and for wrestling tickets, brutal. People just get into that with bots and then take a ticket that's supposed to be $100 or sneakers that are $150, and then they're gobble them up and they're reselling them for like $200, $300, $400, $500, depending on what the shoe is or what the ticket prices are. Like, I remember for the first Double or Nothing I went to, and tickets were gobbled up. Tickets were like $75 and then getting resold for like $575, like easy, and just how they go after it. And
did you buy resold Forbidden Door tickets?
No, got in right off the rip. Yeah, homie, don't play that. But I think that I get the notion behind it. I think that's super fucked up, especially because they're free. Like, there is no investment other than like you got in on the app and here you go. And you guys have been to training camps a bunch. I've been going to training camp. My aunt has seasons. I've been going to training camps since I was like 8, 9, 10 years old, and I remember the feeling of like practice is done and everybody crowds around the fence and the players come around and you get autographs and you get to see the players. And also, like, games are expensive and it's not always easy to like get to games. Like, so sometimes, like, all parents can do for like their kids, especially if you have multiple kids. Like, you go to practice and it's an awesome experience. It's summer, like the weather's usually beautiful, you get the whole atmosphere, and then you got some fucking asshole who probably doesn't return his cart, which also is the easiest fucking thing. Put it back in the fucking Wrangler or cart corral, whatever the fuck you
don't
call it.
do it.
You're a piece of shit.
Somewhere out there's a Drew Gear waiting to zip tie that shit to your door handle. Just
Love
wait.
it. Or zip tie you and then take you out to the middle of a field somewhere, and then who knows?
Hey,
Arson.
listen.
Hashtag.
If you want to go casino with this, I'm down.
Yes,
Fuck these people.
Pesci and his brother. You take him out in the middle of the cornfield.
Put them in the same hole.
Exactly. And you make them watch. Damn, that's
You make
brutal.
'em watch-
They took
listen.
it really far, though, with Pesci, even though I hated his character in that. That's beside the point. Yeah, I think whatever end of the scale.
Is it bad? That's one of my favorite scenes in movie history because I like
It's
the way
brutal.
but I like the way the narration cuts out the second they hit him.
Oh,
I
yeah, and there's
they
no
broke down
noise,
they
it's
broke
just-
the fourth wall. They were like,
It's
oh
just
shit.
noise. Yeah, and
It was-
Pesci was really scummy. What got me, though, is that some of the guys doing that to Pesci and his brother were the guys who were helping Pesci and also being pieces of shit, like his right-hand man.
But they probably knew that it was him or them.
Oh, absolutely. So it was him.
So, well, in this way, there's a lot of people who take advantage, right?
Absolutely.
Like they take advantage of what's
Which is
going
the
on.
circle of life.
And
People take
I
advantage
get
of
it.
things and other people.
But here's the best part. It might not even be fucking legal. Listen to this. Chris, I'm going to read you the quote. A state law that went into effect in New York State last year. It shall be unlawful for any person, firm, or corporation to resell or offer to resell any ticket or other evidence of the right of entry to a place of entertainment if such ticket was initially offered to the public at no charge. And access to such tickets is not contingent upon providing any sort of monetary consideration. So, that exists on the books in New York State as a fucking law.
Interesting.
That you cannot resell these tickets.
Yeah.
Now, that got passed last year.
Okay.
Here I am, ready to motherfuck the team for being, oh, you're going to screw me. Well, how much of it is they listen to social media and how much of it is they go, oh shit, New York State just dropped the hammer. We have to stay in compliance because we could be
held liable.
We could be held liable if we're found to being a vehicle, like if we're found guilty of being a vehicle for people to take advantage of this.
Fair point.
So what happens to these people? They get a visit
Listen
from
to this.
our
It says an online
plastic-faced governor, Kathy Hochul.
Burned at the stake.
Well,
is what
listen to
happens.
this. An online resale marketplace shall be required to clearly and conspicuously disclose the established price charged by the operator of a place of entertainment that is printed or endorsed in the face of each ticket in accordance with Section 12.
Long story short, fight to the death.
Well, so the idea is that you're going to have to track and categorize all of the things. So now what that says is every venue now has to track what the cost of that ticket is and then also what it was sold. The platform has to track what was it sold for. And if the answer is 0 and something,
Problem.
there's a problem. So maybe there's a silver lining.
I don't get it.
To all, oh, you're ticklish.
I am.
That's fucking hilarious.
Well, no, I've had cracked ribs there, so my right side is very sensitive.
Look at you. All right. I respect it.
Yeah.
Chris, I poked him, and the way he turned back, I was like, oh, it's a
Super
fight.
sensitive,
He's
yeah.
about to fight me.
I'm not gonna. I came close to swinging. I'm not gonna. It's just reflex. Like it's just reflex.
No, I love it. I respect that. I saw it in your eyes. I go, oh, shit, he's fired up. All right, I like this.
Fight or flight.
That's right.
See? Fight or flight, and he seems like the sleepiest guy, but he's got it. I saw those eyes.
I seem sleepy.
A little bit.
The quiet ones are the most dangerous.
That's
ones.
fair.
Arson.
So, arson. So, Chris, doesn't that make you feel a little bit better? That, like, hey, these guys might actually still, like, these dirtbags out there selling tickets for hundreds of dollars that they got for free might actually end up just taking one right in the shorts.
Yeah, it should be a thing that if you're one of those people that are selling the tickets for a certain amount of price and you get found out, you should go to prison for the equivalent you're trying to resell the tickets. So if you're trying to resell for $150, you get 150 years in jail.
That's very severe.
Yeah, they deserve
severe.
it. They deserve it.
At that point, we just give them the death penalty.
They kill
because
you.
it
I
gets
was
them
gonna
out.
say like.
But whoa. Some people listening to this might not be a fan of the death penalty. Here's what I'll say. I don't want to support some guy for 185 years. What if he's a vampire? I don't know that.
That's fair.
Now my tax dollars are going towards supporting a vampire. I will not hear anything about that.
You can find the weirdest ways to affect. I was on Locked On Bills with Joe Marino, and So it's video on YouTube, and I was wearing a baseball hat, shock, backwards, so you see the baseball logo, and I was also wearing an NBA jersey. And I got some guy who came and commented that I'm supposed to be a Buffalo guy, and after what Major League Baseball and the NBA has done by overlooking the great city of Buffalo and robbing them of these... Well, he went on like a tirade in the YouTube comments and like of how bad a person I was and how I'm not a true Buffalonian, even though I have a Buffalonian accent and all these things. If you would have like asked me, like, what are the things that you think would make someone mad at you? Like in your life, I would have never thought it was because I wore a hat with like a Major League Baseball logo and an NBA logo. Like, and it just reinforced, you can offend anybody. I would just, what?
And here's the thing.
Just scientifically... The city of Buffalo can handle all 4 major sports.
Yes.
Like, why don't we have a...
I agree. I didn't know I was offending the city.
Here's the thing. Where you screwed up is that you're talking about, like, because you're thinking about this because you're a pretty decent guy. You're a pretty decent guy.
I appreciate you.
That's the problem, is you're looking around going, see, you're thinking, like, I'm a decent guy. They should see that I'm a decent guy. And I'm just, hey, I'm wearing a hat and a basketball jersey. It's easier if you're just offensive and abrasive and they go, oh, okay, that's the thing I'm mad at.
Oh, that's fair.
What was the basketball jersey?
Chris, all of our negative reviews and all the negative shit we've ever caught from people over this podcast, has anyone ever once mentioned what I wear? No, it's always about the things I say.
It doesn't matter what you wear. It's not going to fix your face.
Damn. To answer your question, it was a black Sacramento Kings Jason Williams jersey.
Jason Williams.
Little white chocolate.
Chocolate.
If you were going to see, and now I'm offended.
Why? He's fantastic.
I'm writing mean YouTube.
What?
Listen, if there's 2 respectable Spurs jerseys.
That was a Kings jersey, though.
Oh,
this is a different team. You're going to come at me for Jason Williams, and then you're dropping Spurs?
I thought
this is
you
a completely
Spurs.
different team.
I thought you said Spurs. I was going to say, if you didn't have a Manu Ginobili, you get the hell out of here.
Oh, you're a big Manu Ginobili guy?
I just think it's fun. The Euro step. He was the king.
He did have a very good Euro step.
He was
a lefty, and lefties are cool.
He's over here now. See, look, we finally wandered into a portion of conversation.
Why is he upset?
Because we're
talking about white basketball players.
That's what this episode is about. Is it not?
I thought that's what we do here on this podcast.
But does he count? Manu Ginobili is Argentinian. So he's
no, so hang. Listen, I'm Puerto Rican.
He's a European.
It's fine.
You're Puerto Rican?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, you didn't know that, did you?
I did not. I don't think I believe you.
I feel like he's about to grab his wallet. Just to make sure it's still there.
No, my wife's Dominican.
Hell yeah! Let's go!
You didn't know he was Puerto Rican?
I knew he had style.
Do you want me to prove it to you?
Can you?
I can. Just with words. Ready for this?
Oh, just with words?
Yeah,
tell me.
Ready for this?
No.
His dad's not in his life.
My biological father, I've never met him.
Yeah, there you go.
It's one of the more stereotypical things you'll ever hear. And Chris, you just offended a giant swath of our listener base, but it's okay. Because guess what? It doesn't offend me.
Don't worry, I love Dave Gear.
Dave Gear. Well, he's going to beat your ass one of these days. Dave Gear is at home right now cracking knuckles and working a heavy bag with your face on it.
Well, you wouldn't be the man you are now without Dave Gear.
Sure. I have Dave Gear to thank for everything, but it is hilarious and it is very stereotypical that it's like, oh, how do you that's my card. It's like my if you had to flash an ID, it's like, oh, I've never met my dad, and they go, oh, okay,
we got it.
It's like that's fucked up, but also like I know my Puerto Rican side of the family and they're all in the same boat. Oh. And it's like, damn it, how did we all catch this shitty lottery ticket? Where it's like, oh, well, I'm here, I just don't know that guy. Or I'm here, and that guy has 9 kids with what...
Now that's a topic for an episode.
It's like, son of a bitch. Now, I have like 8 half-brothers and sisters. Just up and down.
You could be like, no, I have 8 kids.
No,
I was going to be
crazy.
Like, what?
It's a wild thing that we could do a whole podcast on. But so just know that deep down, the people who are abusing the season ticket system, they will get theirs.
To bring it home.
To bring it home. Everyone's going to get theirs.
Connect the dots.
Everyone's going to get theirs, including the people who are current. So for all the people who are complaining on social media about how they didn't get tickets and the reselling and all of this, New York State already made up their mind, and there's a reason. So for everyone who's shocked, like, oh, the Bills couldn't make an accommodation. No, they could. They can't. Because they don't want to run afoul of this thing New York State's running right now that these other dickheads are going to run headfirst into. And that's good for them.
Fair point, yeah.
Good. Chris, it won't be you and me, Scott Hansen, and them.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not point.
James Cook says that he is, quotes, obviously running back 1.
Yeah, Rich Eisen.
This is optimism season. That's what this is. It's the time of year where everyone looks at themselves, their team, their roster, like from players to fans, through rose-colored glasses. They go, this is going to be a great year, and here's why. Now, there's a couple headlines that come to mind, and I want to know which one's the easiest for you to laugh at. Although I could just pull up Pro Football Talk right now. The first one was Juwan, what's his name? Juwan from...
Joanna Mann, you're talking about the film.
No, the Jordan, Juwan Jordan from the Saints. Who's the tight end? Caught some passes, made some touchdowns late in the season.
Don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, so he comes out and puts out the statement that he's excited to have what's his face from the Raiders, Derek Carr, elite Derek Carr, Chris.
He is elite.
He goes, he's going to have better playmakers here than he ever did in Oakland. We can give him better players than he had in Oakland. Because Jacobs and then Adams,
Hunter Renfrow, Darren
Waller. Like that's a thing that got said out loud.
Not great.
Not great.
Not great. And I like some of the Saints weapons. I'm a big Michael Thomas guy. But yeah, that's...
Wait. You're a big Michael Thomas guy?
Mike Thomas, yeah, I think he's a tremendous receiver.
How?
Why?
Not
a huge burner, knows how to run routes, knows how to craft his releases, and his ability to consistently win off the line of scrimmage, his hand fighting, his hand technique, his hands, his toughness over the middle, all of that without elite speed and the kind of one of the, not the easiest thing, but one of the main tools in the bag to allow you to separate from a defender. Him not having that speed, I just think he's a legitimate technician when it comes to the receiver position and his ability to maintain consistency.
So that guy says this thing about Derek Carr.
That's a lot. That's very high praise.
Jerry Jeudy comes out and says Russell Wilson has a big year coming. Huge year coming. Jerry Jeudy of 3 seasons of NFL mediocrity. Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It hasn't been good for them.
Nick Chubb, not worried at all about offensive role with Deshaun Watson at quarterback.
That's a weird thing to, say.
To tell the media.
I'm not worried about my wife cheating on me. It's like, what? Why do you say that?
It's not good. Lions to win the NFC North is one of the NFL's most popular bets.
I can see that.
Travis Kelce estimates 50% of 50 to 80% use cannabis.
Good pain.
Well, that's just
medication.
I'm not gonna lie. That's probably just common sense.
I would say that's a very
fair point. You see the way
point.
that goes.
Very fair point.
Kenny Pickett will work his ass off to be the best, says Deontay Johnson. Kenny Pickett will be the best.
We'll work his ass off to be the best. Who doesn't?
Which of those headlines is the easiest to laugh at?
Oh boy. I kind of want to laugh at the Russell Wilson one, but I do believe in Sean Payton from an offensive schematic standpoint. And despite the fact that of the season that Wilson had, these are hard.
These are hard because they're all kind of laughable.
Probably the Kenny Pickett one.
You got to believe in Russell Wilson for sure, right?
Hey guys,
hold on.
Oh boy, I was waiting for it. You gotta go arms more to the side, more side action. There you go. Close your eyes and just you're taking it all in. That's better. You're taking it in.
Now I gotta go back and untangle myself.
There you go. You gotta go back the other way. Make sure you take it all in on the way back around.
What a turd. I'm sorry. I see people do stuff like that though. I see them do it in real life, and I get embarrassed on their behalf because clearly they don't have that bone in their body.
It's weird.
But so
the Kenny Pickett one probably makes me laugh the most.
The Kenny Pickett one is bad, right? Kenny Pickett was okay, but also when you get thumped like that by the Bills, don't talk to me.
It's also super. Those generic comments that make headlines in the offseason are just peak we don't have anything to write about, so let's write about this thing. And so Deontay Johnson's quote isn't crazy. It just makes me laugh. Be Kenny Pickett's going to work his ass off to be the best. Cool. You could say that about anyone.
There's undrafted free agent rookie quarterbacks who are I'm going to work my ass up to be the best.
Exactly.
And you know where you'll end up is dead on the side of Mount Everest like everybody else.
Wow.
Everybody else who's ever tried to make the NFL as an undrafted free agent or a second-round rookie or a third.
It's tough.
And listen, Kenny Pickett, I don't hate him. I just don't see it.
And I also see quotes like that, and like, I don't know, it's like when somebody gets drafted and they don't have a ton of talent, and it's like, this guy is a culture guy. He's the first one in. He's the last one out. High motor. Yep, the type of guy you want. You want him dating your daughter. Like, he's a natural leader, and it's like, okay, so he's not good at the sport.
Yeah, so he's just not good.
Got it.
Good. So you have to build up every other attribute.
Correct.
Okay, so then we get to James Cook, who is declaring himself, obviously, the number one running back.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to hear him say that on the Rich Eisen show and hear him declare that. And I guess you just did a James Cook-centric episode of Disguised Coverage.
It was tremendous.
I think that this is an interesting topic to try to tackle with you. Now, I'm going to run through this. On paper, that sounds right. Mm-hmm. On paper, James Cook is the guy that every fan is out there pounding the table for, going, I want to see more of this guy being explosive and being electric and making plays and whatever.
Yes.
You've got Hines, Damian Harris, and Latavius Murray. It's easy to look at him and go, he's the one with the highest ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
That's fair.
Absolutely.
That's fair. He absolutely does.
Yeah.
But we thought that last year too. And some of the numbers that I unearthed just about his usage and how that all unfolded is pretty disappointing. The end result is he played 173 pass snaps and was almost third on the roster to Nyheim Hines, who didn't get here till November. Imagine almost getting lapped by a guy who didn't spend training camp with your team. Like, you're a second-round pick, and you almost got lapped in terms of passing down snaps by a guy who they traded for in November. Okay? That right there. First of all, how does that happen?
Well, I think a lot of it was those pass plays are Hines just coming in that jet motion and functioning as that decoy piece. And then you tie it in with some pass protection issues and a couple of those pieces.
No, but that's the one. That's the one I want to talk about here because what his quote, according to Ryan Talbot of NewYorkUp.com, is I'm going to come in and do what I do. Change the game with my versatility. I'm going to catch the ball to the backfield. I'm going to pass block. Just doing what I can do to help the team win games and ultimately win a Super Bowl. That's the quote. Okay. Pass block? Is that what you think you do here? I don't know. Devin Singletary was the 6th best pass blocking running back in football statistically last year, according to PFF.
From a grade standpoint?
8 pressures allowed on 93 pass block snaps. No sacks.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. James Cook barely outsnapped Nyheim Hines on pass downs, and this whole dynamic. And then you look at the numbers, and then you start thinking about, well, why? Okay, why would they bring in a guy off the street and let him play more than a guy they drafted in the second round? Well, I don't know. You have a vertical passing attack. Your quarterback does not like to check it down. Your quarterback likes to press the envelope and try to get chunk yards. He's one of the best quarterbacks throwing between 10 and 19 yards down the field. In fact, Chris, I think his efficiency was the tops in the NFL last year. In that,
he's good in the intermediate.
This is where he lives. And then if you give him the deep shot, he'll take it just to see if he can get it. He's never thinking small. So, okay, maybe there's no targets to be had, or maybe it's few, it's far between. Some of that's on your coordinator, isn't it?
I think some of it's also on Allen. As with anything in football, there's so many moving parts and there's so many variables and so many pieces. Like, to put
really, it comes down to the quarterback, though. And I go, my quarterback has a howitzer for an arm and he fucking knows it.
Yeah.
So now what he knows is, hey, this is how I want to play football.
He doesn't want it's 17-0 against Miami in the playoffs in the wild card, and you have 1st and 10 at midfield, and instead of checking it down to Devin Singletary, who's wide open over the middle and who's released over the center, he pushes it downfield because he's like, I want that. I think I can make it, and it gets picked by Xavier Howard and it gets brought back. Like, so that's not on Dorsey calling that play. I guess you can in a roundabout way connect it to that, but that's Allen's decision making, and so he chooses to push the ball.
So you have a quarterback who's pushing those balls. He's not distributing to the running back.
No, he wants
often.
blood. The same thing that makes him decide to jump over a linebacker or truck a linebacker is the same thing that makes him go, I want the 40-yard shot. I want the throw.
So the thing is, when you have that type of quarterback, then you need a specific type of running back to support that quarterback. And unfortunately, what I'm looking at now, Chris, I put a link in the notes if you could bring that up here on the screen. This is the pass blocking grades for some of these guys on the roster. But then I took it a step further. Like, here's what I looked at. I looked at everyone on the Bills roster. There's Harris.
Oh, I can't look at any of it because it's
Oh, yeah, because you're
paywall.
locked out because you're a peasant. I pay for it. I haven't given you the password. That's my fault.
Because you're a peasant.
So here's what happens.
Damn.
Singletary leads the team. He's obviously very good at pass protection. He was their guy. They left him in on third downs a lot of times to protect Josh Allen's blind
He was
side.
the best pass protector back they had.
James Cook was the worst. He only had 18 reps at it, and he allowed, like, look at this. So if I can blow this up for you. On 18 reps, you allowed 7 pressures. That's, it's not great, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's
In true pass.
true pass. Okay.
Yeah.
True pass sets. But so now I'm looking at this and I go down the list and I say Damian Harris. Now you have competition. Damian Harris has the same number of pass block attempts at 21, but 0 pressures, hits, or sacks allowed. Latavius Murray allowed 5 pressures, but had 4 times the number of pass block attempts that James Cook had. And he produced more yards after the catch per reception, forced the same number of missed tackles. It's like, okay, I get it. He's the more explosive guy. Numbers are numbers, but film is film, and that guy is an explosive player. The problem is how are you going to get on the field to show me that if you can't pass protect in a pass-heavy offense with a quarterback who wants to push the ball?
Yeah.
If they don't trust you to protect Josh Allen, James Cook, you're never going to see the field. You will be out there for designed plays specifically for you, but you'll never be RB1 if you can't figure out how to pass protect. It's why Devin Singletary, to my frustration and everybody else's, now in retrospect, we look back and go, oh, the coaching staff, I see what they were thinking. They go, oh, we're seeing it in practice that Cook just isn't picking up this pass pro stuff. Okay, fine. Then we have no choice but to put Singletary out there and just let him continue.
I think the bigger concern for Cook in pass protection, and it was my concern with him coming out of Georgia, on the tape, especially at Georgia, he makes the right read. He diagnoses, like, okay, this is where the pressure's coming, this is what my assignment is. But it's just his technique has to be on so much on point because he doesn't necessarily have the frame. No,
Yeah,
he doesn't have the frame to. It's hard for him to, if he's standing still or flat-footed and there's a linebacker bearing down on him, like, it's hard for him to kind of anchor against a guy who's got a 4, 5, 6 yard head start and it has him on 25, 30 pounds and he's the hammer, you're the nail. How do you go against that? So I think from a mental standpoint, he definitely can improve. From a technique standpoint, he can as well. But that's where he's going to have to lean into it. Unless this offseason for him was getting a little thicker, getting a little stronger, maybe sacrificing some of his speed and burst for more, thickness to be able to hold up in pass protection and or break more arm tackles and or have more broken tackle forced ability when he runs the ball. So that's my concern with him in pass rule, because I do think when he was in there, you could kind of scheme him up from a defensive standpoint to dictate to the offense and be like, okay, he's the guy we want to isolate and we want to make him stay in. We're going to show this look. He's got to stay in to protect, and we're going to take advantage of that piece. And when it comes down to it's not easier, but it's quote-unquote easier in the sense of if your technique is off, but you've got the size and frame, it's like, okay, we're going to coach the hell out of you and get you better. You can coach up somebody as much as you want, but if they're,
small.
If they're a smaller frame guy, there's only so much you can do, and it's hard to live in that realm. Now, I do think some of that is offset by, and especially with this being in my head from the episode I did, the Bills' run game down the stretch, weeks 11 and on, was one of the best in the NFL, and James Cook, from a multiple advanced metric standpoint, especially EPA per attempt, was one of the best running backs in the entire NFL, like top 5 in a multitude of metrics when they really leaned into that scheme and that system. Now, some of that is the defenses they played and what was going on and so on and so forth, but he just adds a completely different dynamic to the offense. And I do think he is RB1. I would say defining that from a usage, because you can be RB1 and get 55% of the snaps or 55% of the touches. There's a difference between being RB1 and getting that versus being RB1 and
Like
getting
what
70%.
what his brother's looking for.
There
Where
you
he
go.
goes, I want to be a 3-down bell cow
Exactly.
back. I want to be the straw that stirs the
Yes,
drink.
there's a difference between that piece and being
Yeah.
the bell cow. 3-down running backs are rare nowadays, but there's a difference between being RB1 versus being like, yeah, I'm
Out
RB1.
of a committee,
because-
I'm the most explosive
Exactly.
guy.
Or I have the most touches but from a percentage standpoint. But again, there's a big difference between 55 to 45 versus 70-30.
I just think that his pass pro has to improve.
Absolutely,
Or
it
else
absolutely
or
does.
else they'll take him off the field.
Absolutely. And then also again, because what you can do defensively, you can show looks up front that force the Bills offensively to keep Cook into pass protect.
Yep.
And then if he's a
Now
vulnerability,
that receiving skill doesn't matter because
No.
you're never going to get out.
or you're forced almost to go empty the whole time, and then you're going like a
Yeah.
3x2 or a 4x1, you're going quads or something, and then even that, now you only have a 5-man surface. Now the defense knows, okay, they either have to play man moves or they're probably going to play a slide, and then you can line up your front in a way to dictate, okay, we can make them slide from the center over, we can make them slide from the right guard to this side, we can isolate, and now you're playing into the bigger pieces. Now we can isolate Spencer Brown one-on-one in pass protection and see what we can do because we've decreased the opportunity of them to have 6 men in pass pro because of what they've had to do. Or if they do keep Cook in, now you've got Cook and Brown. I think that's a very, very fair concern, and it's something that I myself am definitely focused on. So very fair.
Chris, it's always fun when other people go, hey, this drunk guy, he might know a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. Don't take it too far.
He goes, listen, let's not take this too far.
Every blind squirrel, even a blind squirrel, finds a nut.
Well, that's the Buffalo Bills with Sean McDermott, isn't it? Like the struggling franchise forever finds the coach that just seems to like the thing
Oh, I
we've
thought
been
you called
hoping.
him a blind squirrel. I was like,
No, the thing that we've been hoping every single coach throughout the entire drought. We go, finally, we got a good coach, and then they fall on their face, and we go, all right, fuck it. Except for the Chan Gailey one. I remember the Chan Gailey and Buddy Nix hires. I was in my car calling my friend, going, we just hired geriatrics to run this fucking football team. Awesome.
Chan Gailey knew how to use C.J. Spiller, though. That was some beautiful offense back in the day.
I just
Love it.
I want to light a fire. Chris Arson. We're going to light a fire.
C.J. Spiller was fantastic.
Yeah, he's great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
He's going to be in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah. How was your thoughts when he was drafted?
Oh, C.J. Spiller was my favorite college football player, so I was, as a pure fan, thrilled. I was concerned
I
as
left
to...
the bar I was at.
Concerned that we already had Marshawn
Yeah,
Lynch
I was like, this doesn't
and Fred
make sense.
Jackson.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie to you. I left the bar I was at drinking with my friends and called a girl that I hadn't talked to in 3 months and went over to her place. That's how
Fair enough.
distraught I was.
I loved him at Clemson. Him and James Davis. Clemson was sick, and his...
Yeah, good. Let's draft another running back. That'll fix all our problems.
Oh, man. Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, always. So the thing is that blind squirrel finding a nut, that was the Buffalo Bills with Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane. We brought in this never before, like not a retread, no experience, but we brought in a coach who then I don't want to
Found a nut.
I don't know what it is, but like I don't know how it went behind the scenes. I don't want to speculate, although I'd like to think that it went to one of those things where Sean McDermott showed up and was like, oh, okay, cool. Doug Whaley, just tell me what you do here. Okay, cool. Get us through this draft. And then afterwards, he's like, hey, by the way, I talked to the owner. He was, what is it, Guy Young
Yeah.
from Eastbound and Down?
He's Guy
You're
Young. You're fucking out.
You're
Nice.
you're fucking out.
Nice.
I win. You're fucking out. And then he brought in his buddy Brandon Beane.
Yeah.
And everyone goes, well, that's nepotism. And then that nepotism propelled us to being the best team in the AFC.
And they go into that offseason. It's like, we're trading Darby. We're trading Sammy
Yeah.
Watkins. We're bringing
the
in
balls
Gaines. Yeah,
on
I
these
know.
guys.
Yeah.
Like,
We're tearing it down.
the blind squirrel found a nut when the Buffalo Bills found these coaches. This coach, this GM. Because nobody else could have pulled that off. Would Greg Williams have had the balls to kick multiple versions of what we thought their best player at the time was off the roster? For considerations, that some of which paid dividends, some didn't. EJ Gaines, awesome pickup in the Sammy Watkins trade.
Yeah, it really was. Very underrated when healthy.
What was it? Who did we get? I think, Chris, was it not Jeremy Maclin?
Jordan Matthews.
Jordan Matthews. We got Jordan Matthews in a second round pick?
Yeah.
Okay, so the second round pick mattered. Jordan Matthews? Nah. But hey, it all played a role into where we are today. And where we are today is a 3-time division-winning football team when no one's done it for over 2 decades because the Patriots had a stranglehold on everything. So, with that in mind, we should feel lucky, right? Like, we should consider ourselves lucky that we have these gentlemen in the fold. That
Agreed.
is not how Bill's Twitter would have you believe this whole thing should be happening.
Bill's Twitter's a bad place.
So I'm going to read you a couple tweets. Yeah, I have them screen capped. I have them screen capped because I'm fucking petty and I save these things. TJDMCR to Bob, whatever the fuck his thing is. He goes, these tweets are just silly. Number 1, 6 of 32 teams have an elite quarterback. And number 2, 2 of 32 with an elite quarterback and 5+ all-pro starters.
These are arbitrary. This is him just deciding what.
Yes, he gets to decide. No, exactly. That's why it's funny. Any current NFL coach with Allen Diggs, Milano Hyde, White, and Von Miller is making the playoffs 99% of the time. How have we done compared to the elite? What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't understand.
Also, Chris Hulbert from Gratwick Films.
What are you calling about?
He says, the best quarterback playoff performance in NFL history wasn't enough to carry McDermott. But sure, giving him 12 seasons to figure out he's the problem will certainly fix everything. Let's talk about history, you fuck. You fucking people who don't understand where we are. McDermott right now has a 63.9% win percentage in the regular season, 44.5% in the playoffs. Now, 44.5 in the playoffs is still pretty good. Mm-hmm. Chris, there's a lot of coaches who would kill for 44.5.
Yeah.
Marty Schottenheimer.
Andy Reid with 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And yes, before you go out there and fucking complain, I did parse out his entire career, carve out the ones where he didn't have Donovan McNabb and didn't have Patrick Mahomes, and segregated them. And I just isolated those 2 stretches. Here's what I'm looking at. In Philly with McNabb, he was 113-62. That's 64.5.
Also had a really good year with Jeff Garcia filling in.
Yes, because Jeff Garcia had just like one of the best QB2 years ever.
Also completely redefined how Michael Vick played the quarterback position.
Kind of.
Played offense. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Turned him into an actual like NFL passer quarterback.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but doesn't 64.5 look an awful lot like 63.9?
They're pretty close.
Guys.
Hashtag numbers. Your stats and numbers, guy.
I'm a stats and numbers.
Yeah, me too. Look at my hat.
In the regular season, in the postseason, he went 10-9 with that Phillies team, which is 52.5.
And they ran him out of town.
He had 1 Super Bowl appearance, 0 title wins. They sent him to the Wolves. Now, Philly then went through like the dark ages. The Chip Kelly years.
Yeah, that's what took over for Reed, right? I was thinking, who took over?
Chip Kelly. It got ugly.
Get real bad.
Then they find Nick Sirianni. Luck into Jalen Hurts because nobody wanted him. Second round pick?
Yeah.
That quarterback, every GM had a crack at that guy. Didn't take him. You took him. You married him up. First of all, you get Doug Peterson. He wins you your fucking ring.
With a backup QB.
With a backup quarterback because he's a good coach.
In a year where if Wentz stayed healthy, he wins MVP.
Yeah, that's it. MVP season, you go to your backup.
For Carson Wentz, who now looks like one of the most untouchable quarterbacks in the entire NFL.
What does it tell you about good coaching? Okay.
And then look what Doug Peterson did in Jacksonville this year.
Bang. So this is my point, but you're making my point preemptively for me, but I like that.
Sorry.
Because then Andy Reid moves on to Kansas City, and then he does what he does with Alex Smith, but he's making the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Then he gets Mahomes.
And Matt Castle.
And he goes and gets Mahomes. Has a 78% winning percentage. They're 78.5% in the playoffs with 2 Super Bowl wins. Now, I guess the question is this, Chris: if you had just stayed the course, if you were Philly, like the guy who had you in the playoffs every fucking year. And yet you ran him out of town because you were like, well, he obviously can't get it done. Don't you wish you had let him stick around just a little bit longer?
Probably.
Anthony?
Yeah, but here's my issue with Reed, McDermott, all of them. There are so many things that have to click for a team to win the Super Bowl. It is so hard to be able to win a ring.
Tweet.
Oh, boom, there you go.
Aaron Quinn on Twitter. There have been 518 NFL head coaches in league history. 14 have won Super Bowls. That's 2.7% of all coaches to ever coach have won a fucking Super Bowl. Bill Belichick occupies a huge portion, for one coach, and I think that our proximity to that has led us to believe that it should be easy.
If you just look at I don't know, and then if we take the numbers further, if you just look at like Belichick, Chuck Noll, and Tom Landry, like that's like a significant portion of Super Bowl winning coaches.
21 total coaches have won a single Super Bowl, and that's 4% of the entire population. It is hard to win a ring in the NFL.
It's one and done. If you can be the better team, and if you have a bad day, a bad game plan, bad finish, a bad start, bad weather, or just pure matchup, you're the better team, but you just don't match up well with this other team, you're done. There is no baseball or especially hockey in the NBA where we lost game one, we readjust, we come back, we take care of it. No, you lose it, you're done. That's it. It is what it is. And so many things have to click. You have to be healthy. You have to have the right matchup at the right time. There are so many pieces.
You can't have a banged-up roster with a guy who almost died in the fucking football field 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before that.
Even look at that, too, like with this past Bills season. I'm not giving anyone a pass, but look at how things can change if Huntley gets in on that long run instead of going down at the one. The Ravens take the lead there. If he somehow gets it into the end zone instead of fumbling and Hubbard returns it to the house.
We're playing the Ravens.
Oh, no, we play the Jags.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
We get the Jags. And so who knows? Now,
mind you, the way that Miami game went?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe the Jags. And the Jags honestly put up a really good fight against Kansas City. Granted, Mahomes got banged up, and they had a chance to potentially win that game. But there are and you can do that. I give that example just to say there are so many things that can lead to what happens in a season. I mean, even going back like further in the season, if Josh Allen doesn't fumble against Minnesota, like all these pieces, the Bills are now a different seed. The entire structure of the playoff bracket changes. You're playing different teams. All those teams are playing different.
To try to saddle one person with all of the blame for that is out of fucking control. Here's something. I'll say this.
No, go ahead.
Those two runs that I talked about with Mahomes
for Andy Reid.
Andy Reid spanned 16 of Reid's 24 seasons in the NFL as a head coach. You're looking at my notes right here.
Yeah, I am.
He has 2 Super Bowl rings.
And he's right now regarded as like the best coach and one of the best coaches of all time.
Yep. 75%. 24 seasons, 18 playoff appearances. It means he made the playoffs 75% of the time. McDermott has made it 83% of the time. McDermott has had more appearances in more bites at the apple than Andy Reid has to this point in his career. Mm-hmm. And that, like, he had a McNabb. He had a roster. He had a TO. He had things.
Very good squad. So he had a defensive coordinator in Jim
Johnson.
Johnson.
So the people bitching who are like, well, we have a Hall of Fame quarterback and a great wide receiver. Why isn't this working? Andy Reid had one too. And it's not like Reid's a bad coach, but everyone wants to bang the drum. They missed in 2018. That's the only reason it's not 100%, and that was the year the team intentionally decided we're going to fix our cap so we can actually compete.
Which they started to kind of do in 2017, but McDermott just got them to make the playoffs anyway because of what they did. It's my same thing with people who pile on to Ken Dorsey.
Reid made his first Super Bowl in year 6. McDermott.
Year 6. Oh, I like the connections. I
I'm just saying. I'm like, you guys want to run a guy to fucking town, or then complain that they extended him? Are you out of your fucking minds?
These people that tweet shit like this about hating McDermott, they sound like people that go out to Crab Apples in Cheektowaga and get a Crab Apples 10, and they're like, all right, I can do this. Let's go to Miami and go to the club, and I can pick up a 10 in Miami. No, you can't.
Here's what's so crazy to me. That Aaron Quinn tweet that I just read was retweeted by Charlie Gross. Now, if any of you know who that fucking guy is on Twitter,
I know of him.
You know you're in a bad place when you're on the opposite side of the field from Charlie Gross. It's one of those things where, like, you look around, you go, "Wait, who's on my side? Oh no, am I the problem? Am I the problem?
Is it me? It's fuck." I also get the notion, like I get that other side of it, right? Like at a certain point, you don't want bites at the apple. You want it to pay off legitimately. Like you want the ring. At a certain point, making the playoffs every year isn't good enough. It's not fun. You want a championship, and I understand that. But to Aaron's tweet and the point of this whole segment, it's very hard to win a Super Bowl. Like, and it's too much. And I get people want, again, like a lightning rod or some sort of vehicle to put their frustration into.
Right now there's people who want Brandon Beane to say, fuck the salary cap, YOLO, let's go get DeAndre Hopkins. Because that might be the thing that wins us a Super Bowl.
It could be. It could also be the thing that sets you back.
I
in
thought
that
that's
5,
why
6 years of
Diggs
ineptitude.
restructured.
Well, yeah.
No, I'm not doing this.
Well, that's it. Like exactly. See, now you're thinking arson. You're thinking about he's thinking
I'm
about
always
lighting
thinking arson. I'm never not thinking about arson. It's just hard. There's too many variables. It's 11 on 11. You've got a head coach, you've got an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, you've got position coaches, and you also understand how game plans get put together. The different position coaches that are responsible. Like, you just take offense. Sometimes your running backs coach is responsible for the third down package in a given week. Sometimes it's your wide receivers coach. There's all these different pieces that go into a thing. That's why,
But your average WGR caller doesn't fucking understand that.
No, he just throws, oh man, like, this guy sucked today. We lost because of him. Like, that's bullshit and it's dumb. And I understand you want to get over the hump. I want a Super Bowl. If you're a Bills fan, a fan of any team,
I'm afraid
you
of
want a
what
Super
happens,
Bowl.
Chris. I'm genuinely afraid of what happens to not just me, but our fan base if we win a Super Bowl.
Arson.
We'll be the most. Yeah,
Yes, we
no,
just
there
keep
will be
saying
arson. No,
it.
I'm not kidding.
Fires everywhere.
There will be fires. Cars will get burned in the street. But also,
Buffalo will be razed to the ground.
Well, I've said I have a conspiracy theory that the NFL has an agreement with the National Guard. They won't let it happen. They go, listen, if it happened, what we would have to do is cordon off the city, blockade. There's no booze getting in. We wait until they just all, like 3 days from now, they hit the communal hangover, and we just go in and push them all down.
I'm thinking of like a Dark Knight Rises scenario where they blow up all the bridges and like freeways so like nobody can leave the city and they're just trying to keep it all
that way
in.
we can't hurt anybody else. We just stay here.
They just let Buffalo burn, but like they don't want to corrupt like anything else.
That's actually pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I've always thought about this, like, what happens to us as fans? We might be the most insufferable fan base that year we win a Super Bowl, because for everybody who's ever thrown it in our faces that we didn't win that one.
Oh, it'll be brutal. It's coming back
Do you know
tenfold.
the receipts? I have files. I have filing cabinets full of receipts.
Just wait.
Of all the people who've ever said to me, like, oh, we'll go win one. Oh, I'm coming back.
I've been waiting.
For this moment. I don't care if you're 60 now. You're fucking getting it. I'll show up at your nursing home. You're getting this. You're catching these hands.
You'll get this work.
So, with that in mind.
Ooh.
Oh.
What is that? Is this the
cell phone.
80s?
Yeah, I like the old school ringtone.
It's his lady calling to see where he is. She wants to make sure he's still alive. She knows who we are. She knows how this rolls. She's like, oh my God. Are you
Yeah,
okay?
I'm in West Seneca. It's a safe area.
So this contract, here's another thing that I don't think people recognize. Like, it keeps both coach and GM under contract until after the new stadium gets completed. And if there's anything I want to close this on, it's this idea. Like, if I can be cynical for a second. There was a recent article at Pro Football Talk about the idea that Mark Poloncarz, not the idea, Mark Poloncarz's quote about how we knew what we were dealing with. It's the NFL. They would have left Erie County if we hadn't ponied up the money. Okay? But then if you go back and you look at it, without McDermott, we don't break the drought. Who else should we bring in? Who are the coaches? Remember, we were happy with, what's his name? The offensive coordinator who let that touchdown happen. It's the first time I've ever seen Chris yell at a TV before during a game.
Anthony Lynn?
Anthony Lynn.
Oh, yeah, who went under the Chargers and stuff.
And then the Jets kick the ball off to us in the game where he's head coaching, and the kick returner doesn't know to pick it up, so they just scoop and score in the end zone.
Oh, he was the coach in that game?
The ball's on the ground.
Oh, Rex is done. He was the interim guy. Yeah.
So we don't hire that guy. He had the inside track until they met McDermott. If they don't pick him, we don't break the drought in 2017.
That's a fair point.
Without Beane and McDermott, we don't draft Josh Allen in 2018. We probably end up with a higher pick because we have a bad team, and we end up with Rosen. Because Darnold's already gone. Baker Mayfield's already gone. Yeah. So now we're talking about what if we want to talk about a multiverse and what else exists out there. There's a universe where the Buffalo Bills don't hire Sean McDermott and they don't hire Brandon Beane.
Yeah.
And now you draft Rosen because you're still in the top 10, but that's not because you made trades. It's because you're shitty.
This got real dark real fast.
Yeah. And then if that team doesn't stay competitive, they aren't suddenly a free agent destination where players like Leonard Floyd and Poona Ford and Damian Harris and everybody takes plate
and Von Miller.
And then here's the thing, like maybe Erie County, I don't know, like maybe they're so in love with football they do whatever it takes to keep the Bills here. But also maybe they look at the fact that in 2016, Rex's last year, I was at that December Browns game. There was fewer than 30,000 people there. It was early December. It wasn't a bad day. It was sunny. It was warm for December. There was less than 30,000 people in the stadium. I remember a kid got so drunk he just laid down and slept in the bleachers, and there was nobody around, so he wasn't bothering anyone, so the ushers just left him alone.
Tons of space.
We were Major League. We were the fans from Major League. And for everybody who pounds the table talking about Buffalo's the best fan base ever, remember that. Remember when it was just me and a bunch of my dickhead friends freezing our asses off, and none of you were there. I kept those receipts too, because I'm petty as hell.
You're lifting the mic off the table. Let it flow. Let the hate fuel you.
You're never going to, like, what if you spent another decade and a half replicating what we have, trying to replicate what we have now with another Rex Ryan or Greg Williams?
It's hard to hit on a good coach.
You're never going to get me to believe that Western New York would shell out hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, with public funds to keep that team here. They'd go, listen, this is a sideshow. It's a disaster. Get them out of here. We're not spending almost $1 billion to keep this thing that no one goes to and that has no traction and no one cares about.
And maybe turn into the Oakland A's.
So exactly. And so with that in mind, we can joke, like we've talked about it, that the stadium would be the thing. Travis Wingfield, who is now the Chris Brown for the Miami Dolphins, has talked about how Josh Allen had, coming out in the draft, skyline changing talent, because he could be the worst quarterback in this draft, or he could be the thing that puts a new building in your city because he's that good. We've joked about how this is the house that Allen built, this new stadium. The reality is, and I don't think anyone in our fan base is willing to admit it to themselves, this thing should more appropriately be called the house that McBean built. It doesn't have quite the same ring, but tell me they don't deserve it.
I think people and it gets talked about a lot, like culture and process and all this stuff. I don't think people realize how hard it is to change the culture of a franchise. The Buffalo Bills legitimately went from a laughingstock and an afterthought and a joke to a place. Emmanuel Sanders said it. Like, he said, I used to, like, players around the league, like, they used to view Buffalo as like, Buffalo. And then he came there to win a championship, and he sees the facilities, and he talks to the players, and he hears about McDermott and Beane and all of this. Like, it's a legitimately hard thing to change the culture of a franchise that is down and out and a joke and an afterthought, and take them to not only relevancy, but take them to a place of strength where it becomes, like you mentioned earlier, it becomes an attractive destination. It becomes the turnaround of just the drought and all this awful ineptitude to be in a place where Von Miller could be like, yeah, I want to get another ring with the team, and I'm going to come to Buffalo. And it's not a joke, because it's like, oh, cool, yeah, Buffalo, I bet. They're like, oh, yeah, this could really happen. Like, to be that kind of destination and turn it around in 4 or 5 years after gutting everything. You trade Sammy Watkins.
Turn it around immediately.
Bang. You get rid of Darby and Watkins and Marcel Darius, and you gut everything, and you change everything. You change the system, the scheme, the players. There's no real
the training staff. All of a sudden, you've got the owner investing money. Guys, everything we have today, we owe to one guy who claps too much, and this guy with these sunglasses and this unassuming southern drawl who is an absolute murderer.
Dan Marino. Absolutely.
We owe them everything, and they deserve this extension. Full stop. Guys, I'm happy we did this. I'm happy you're here for this, but for tonight, we got to get the fuck out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. This is Anthony Prohaska. Where can people find you on social?
Find me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro 2 ANT. Host of Disguised Coverage, live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Cover One Network, and co-host of the Cover One Film Room, live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern with Eric Turner, and a person who likes wrestling but not as much as Drew does.
And on that note, this has been your Rockpile Report.